Very good morning to all. Today we are going to talk about Robert Browning's poem The Last Ride Together. And yesterday I talked about Robert Browning, his early life, his lifestyle, as well as his writings, his particular works that he has written, and his writing style we talked about. So, as I told you in the beginning, that Robert Browning is famous for dramatic monologues. Mono, as the name indicates, means single speaker is there. There is a conversation, it appears, but only a single speaker is there who is, you see, talking about his personal moments or personal experiences he is sharing in that whatever happens and dramatic in the sense because whatever happens in the poem, it appears as if the stage performance for that is taking place. Every incident that happens in the poem appears to be happening before your eyes. You can visualize it in your memory. That's why it is a dramatic monologue. Okay, so now let us come to the poem The Last Ride Together. As the title indicates, this poem actually is derived from Dramatic Romances, his poetic collection that was composed in 1845. This poem is a love lyric. It is the narrative of the last ride together when the mistress consents to go out with the rejected suitor or the lover for this last time before being finally departed from each other. The poem expresses a curious emotion, a mood of mixed happiness and sorrow. The knowledge of the impending parting, or the lovers being separated while rendering the moment valuable, also renders it transitory. The lover's concentration on the present moment leads to an expression of optimism. As I told you that in all the poems of Robert Browning, there is optimism. Optimism means we are hoping that whatever is not going to happen in this life, that will happen in the next life. Optimism, something better is going to happen, that kind of feeling. So expression of optimism is based on its acceptance of the limitations of human will and achievement. The lover is also an unusual person wherein the imposition of his will is not the ruling sentiment. He has also written various other poems which are the dramatic monologues like The Last Duchess that is prescribed in your syllabus, or Porphyria's Lover as well. And these poems talk about the sinister cruelty, but here it is not the sinister cruelty that is depicted in this poem. So let us come to the poem now. I said, then, dearest, since it is so, since now at length my fate I know, since nothing all my love avails, since all my life seemed meant for fails, since this was written and needs must be, my whole heart rises up to bless your name in pride and thankfulness. Take back the hope you gave. I claim only the memory of the same. And this beside, if you will not blame, you leave for one more last ride with me. As you know that here these lines are recited by a lover who has failed in his love attempts. He is a robust idealist and accepts his fate with a cheerful resignation to whatever cannot happen. So here he says, I said, it is the abrupt beginning, as you see in the poems of John Donne as well, because I told you in the beginning, in the first year class, where John Donne and his contemporary writers are reflected. But in metaphysical poetry, what happens is the abrupt beginning. The poem starts at a sudden. So here also, suddenly it starts, I said. So here we have to imagine that the lovers are there, they are talking to each other. And here the speaker of this poem is the lover, not the beloved, right? So I here refers to the lover who has been rejected in his love. So he here is narrating his story in his own words, whatever he feels, whatever he thinks about his own love experiences. He depicts that. I said, then dearest. Dearest here refers to the lady love, the lady to whom he loves. Then dearest, since it is so, it is decided, or it is in my fate. Since now at length my fate I know. Since I know now that you cannot return my love, my love cannot be fulfilled. Since nothing all my love avails. Since all my love for you has been in vain, it has been wasted, it is not going to succeed, it is an utter failure of mine, it cannot be reciprocated by you, you are not loving me anymore. All my love avails, since all my life seemed meant for. Since all my life seemed meant for. Since I fail in the purpose of my life, the purpose as he has depicted, purpose of his life was to love her. This was his purpose, and he has failed in this purpose. Since this was written, this was in my fate, it was destined to me. Needs must be. Must happen. Means whatever is written my fate, it is going to happen. Sooner or later, it is going to happen. My whole heart rises up to bless. My whole heart. See, still he is not cursing the lady who is not loving him. He is saying that I am blessing you with my whole heart. Since this was written and needs must be, my whole heart rises up to bless. He has no bitterness in his heart for his love. Instead, he wants to bless her for a better future. Your name in pride and thankfulness. Pride, I have a pride in the feeling that you loved me at a point of time. Thankfulness. So he is here thanking her that she allowed him to love her. My whole heart rises up to bless your name in pride and thankfulness. Take back the hope you gave. Take back the hope you gave? The hope of returning my love that you inspired in my heart. Take it away. Because now it is not going to happen. You are no longer loving me. Take back the hope you gave. I claim only the memory of the same. I only claim the privilege of cherishing the memory of that sweet hope that you have instilled in my heart. And this beside, and this in addition to that. If you will not blame, if you do not take it, if you are not, thinking bad of me that I loved you, you leave for one more last ride with me. I want to take your permission. Leave here refers to permission. So I want to take your permission for what? One more last ride. That we can ride. Ride here refers to, because at that time no two-wheelers or four-wheelers were there. So ride used to be horse ride, like that. So here he is taking her permission for the last horse ride. You can see that in the first 5 lines, there is the repetition of the word since. Since it is so, since now at length, since nothing, since all, since this watch. So here the writer has repeated the word since in first 5 lines. It is reflecting his love for the lady, because at a point of time it was there that the two of them were in love with each other. Now it is no more. So here let me paraphrase it. I said then dearest, since it's so. So I am repeating its paraphrase. Here the lover who has been rejected in his love attempts, who has failed to win the favor of his lady love, tells her that as he now knows his fate, and as all his love is failed, it is of no use. He has failed to win her love in return. And as he feels that life has no longer any meaning for him, it is meaningless, because the sole motive of his life till now was to love that lady. And since he has rejected him, he is feeling as if no longer any meaning is there of his life. And as what has happened was fated to happen, and has happened of necessity. It was written in my fate that you will not reciprocate my love. He does not repine, nor does he blame her. On the other hand, he blesses her, as he is proud of his love and thankful to her for giving him the opportunity to love her. He says to his beloved, "For all these considerations, my heart rises above the feelings of disappointment and sorrow to bless you. I do so in pride that I still love you and in thankfulness to you for affording me the happiness of loving you, though you cannot return my love." He now takes her permission for the last ride with him. He says that the kind of feeling you have awakened in my heart, feeling of love, I want to cherish its memory forever and ever. But if you don't mind, I want to take one more ride with you. That will be the last ride. So here comes the title of the poem, The Last Ride Together. He wants to ride with the lady love for the last time because they are no longer going to meet with each other after this. So let us come to the next stanza. My mistress bent that brow of hers, those deep dark eyes where pride demurs, when pity would be softening through, fixed me a breathing while or two, with life or death in the balance right. The blood replenished me again. My last thought was at least not vain. I and my mistress, side by side, shall be together, breathe and write. So, one day more am I defied. Who knows but the world may end tonight? So, here the writer is saying, my mistress bent that brow of hers. When he talked to her that he wants to take one last ride with her so that he can have this memory in his heart after she has left him. She is thinking about it, whether she should grant his request or not. So she is thinking about it. Mistress went that bro means she is thinking about it, whether she must grant him the permission or not. Those deep dark eyes where pride demurs. Where pride demurs, the lover feels that she is really kind-hearted. But out of maidenly pride, deep dark eyes, because he is very much beautiful, she does not show herself to be such. There was a struggle going on in her heart between pity and pride. Those deep dark eyes where pride demurs when pity would be softening through. Her pride made her hesitate to grant the lover's request, but pity for the lover inclined her to accede to it. Thus the lover was kept in a state of terrible suspense for a few moments, whether she will grant his permission or not. When pity would be softening through, fixed me a breathing. He was breathless till the moment she gave her permission, while or two. For some moment, for some time, she left him in dilemma, whether she will grant his permission or not. With life or death in the balance. In suspense, her consent would mean a new lease of life for him. Her refusal would mean that to him. So that's why he's saying life or death in the balance, whether he is going to live or whether he is going to die with her permission that he was in dilemma about. If she is granting her permission to ride with him, this is a symbol of life for him. And that if she rejects his last wish, that will be just like that for him. Right. The blood replenished, again rushed back to his cheeks. me again. My last thought was at least not vain. He says that my last thought, the last idea that I gave to her, that was not at least vain. It was not wasted. She consented to go for a ride with me. I and my mistress side by side. So there they are riding together side by side. They are sitting on the horseback. Shall be together. So they will be now riding. They will be sitting together. Breathe and ride. They will be breathing as such, and they will be riding as such. So one day more am I defied, made equal to the gods in bliss. He is feeling as if he has been blessed by her to live one more day in the company of his love. Who knows but the world may end tonight? Who knows? It may be that the world may come to an end tonight. He says, who knows? Nobody knows about it, whether the world is coming to end tonight. So he is very much happy that she has granted his hope that he is having. So let me paraphrase it. The lover requests the beloved for one more last ride with him together. He waits for the beloved's answer. The beloved looked at the poet with raised eyebrows, as if in surprise. She was not expecting anything like this from the lover. Bent brow sometimes indicates haughtiness. Her pride is also reflected. The look of her jet black eyes showed that her womanly pride was protesting against the pity felt for her lover, melting through them in the shape of tears. This is a fine line, and it reveals the conflict of feelings in her heart. She was not herself sure about whether she could go with him or not. Her pity for the rejected lover, which had softened her heart, would have manifested itself in tears overflowing those jet black eyes if her womanly pride had not protested against such exhibition of weakness and checked their flow. Her look, which betrayed this struggle going on in her heart between pity and pride, kept the lover in suspense for a moment or two as to what answer she was going to return to his request. During these fateful moments, the lover's life was in the balance, for her refusal would have meant death for him. The intensity of the suppressed passion here is noteworthy. When the beloved agreed to the lover's proposal of one more last ride together, the lover felt great relief. It seemed as if she had saved his life, for her denial would have meant death for him. The lover's blood seemed to have stopped circulating while he was in a state of bitter suspense, but when she returned a favorable answer, it began to flow again. He felt as if fresh life had come to him. His last request to his beloved did not go in vain. He is happy. He will be riding with her by his side to breathe with her while riding together will be supreme happiness for his disappointed love. The lover feels like a goal at his happy lot. When his last request for a last ride together was granted, the lover felt extremely happy. He feels that this is the moment which he wants to ever last. He thinks that this moment will last forever and ever, and after this moment, the entire world might come to an end. He is not going to, have any objection for that. If the entire world is melted down, it is exhausted or it is extinguished after this moment. He wants to live this moment forever and ever. Let us come to the next stanza. Hush, if you saw some western cloud, all billowy bosomed, overbowed, by many benedictions, suns and moons and evening stars at once. And so, you, looking and loving best, conscious grew, your passion drew, cloud, sunset, moonrise, star shines too, down on you, near and yet more near, till flash must fade, for heaven was here. Thus leant she and lingered, joy and fear. Thus lay she a moment on my breast. Hush! He thinks that when he is going for a ride with her, everything will come to a stand still. It must be silence. Hush means silent, so that he cannot get disturbed. Hush, if you saw some western cloud. He says that when he's riding with her, it is just like a moment which cannot be, which cannot be disturbed by anyone, as the beautiful western clouds are there in the evening in the sky. So, all billowy bottomed overbowed. Billowy bottomed, here the cloud is just like a bosom. Its surface is broken up into smaller undulations, which are like foaming billows. A billow is a great wave or surge of the sea. The surface of the sea, like the bosom of man, is normally calm and level. But when invaded by a storm, it becomes billowy. So does the bosom of a man when stormed by any strong feeling. All billowy bosomed, overbowed, laden with weight by many benedictions. Many benedictions means different kind of blessings that are given. By many benedictions, suns and moons and evening stars at once. Sun and moon and stars pouring down light on the cloud, ever nearer and nearer. And so you, looking and loving best. At that moment, she is looking very lovingly towards him. Conscious grew, your passion drew. As soon as she grew conscious that she was no more in love with him, your passion drew. You withdraw your passion that was reflected till now. Cloud, sunset, moonrise, stars shine too. Down on you, near and yet more near, till flesh must fade, for heaven was there. Flesh must fade means till you feel that you are not a mortal burdened with gross flesh, till one ceases to feel the grossness of the body. Heaven was there, the bliss was it to be with you. Bent forward, lingered, remained for a longer time. Joy and fear. The joy of the union with him, because she was lying on near to him, and fear because that state of bliss was not going to last forever. Thus lays she a moment on my breast. Thus, in this way, like the cloud, sunset, moonrise, and a star, light closely to each other during the night time, so also she was very much near to him. And this moment was only for certain time. This was not going to last forever and ever. That the poet has the pity for this. So here, let me paraphrase it. Soon the lady mounts the horse with her lover. The lady lies on the lover's bosom for a moment. In these lines, the lover describes a sublime metaphor, how his lady leant upon his shoulder and lingered like that for a few moments, and at last lay a moment on his breast, bidding everything to be silent so as not to disturb their bliss, their happiness. The lover asks, eh, the lover asks if we have ever seen how beautiful a western cloud looks in the evening time, when her swelling bosom seems to be broken with undulating waves, and when the setting sun, the rising moon, and the evening star seem to load and bend her with the blessings of their light. At such an auspicious, heaven sent moment, one looks and loves his best, and seems by the very intensity of his or her passion to draw down these grand natural phenomena closer and closer round himself or herself, till the sense of corporal existence, the physical existence, seems to slowly disappear. It is at that moment that heaven appears to be before us. The lover felt like this when his lady leant upon him and tarried like this. At this time, his heart was simultaneously filled with joy and fear, joy derived from this bodily contact, and fear of losing her. So, she did so in a moment of self forgetfulness, overwhelmed by the softening influences of her natural surroundings, as well as by her pity for the lover whom she had rejected or disappointed. This is enough for today, and the next part we will talk about in the next lecture. Thank you all.